Okay, it looks like we are live.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Maybe This Once release party event. My name's Ariana, and I'm the events coordinator here at Love Sweet Arrow, and I have the great pleasure of introducing both of our authors with us today. Our first author is, of course, the lovely Sophie Sullivan, author of Maybe This Once. Okay, it looks like we are live. One moment. Apologies, technical difficulties. Give me one moment.
No problem.
It's okay.
I would never want to be in charge of these.
Mm-mm. Text
I don't
that.
even like using technology at school. I'm like, it's always going to mess up.
Yeah, it's not my favorite either.
No. You're living in Chicago?
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you go to the big one there? There's a big event there that I know Shannon Schroeder does or
Spring
goes to.
Fling. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. Apologies. There was some feedback coming in. Didn't want
Okay.
that to pull through. Um, but yeah, so here for Maybe This Once, and we have Sophie Sullivan here with us today, author of Maybe This Once. Sophie is a Canadian author as well as a cookie eating, Diet Pepsi drinking Disney enthusiast who loves reading and writing romance in almost equal measure. She writes around her day job as a teacher and spends her spare time with her sweet family watching reruns of Friends. She's had plenty of practice writing happily ever after as her alter ego, Jodie Holford. Welcome, Sophie.
Yeah.
In conversation with Sophie, we have the lovely Chandra Bloomberg, author of Love is an Open Door. Chandra writes funny, heartwarming love stories about characters that feel real and relatable. Born and raised in Michigan, Chandra moved to the Chicago area after majoring in English at Michigan State University. When she's not writing, she enjoys lifting heavy barbells at the gym, making a mess of the kitchen while baking alongside her four kids, and traveling with her family. Welcome, Sophie and Chandra. We are so very excited to have you today for this event. I will pass it off to you in a quick moment, but before I do so, I just want to say for the audience, as per usual, we will have Sophie and Chandra be in conversation for about an hour. During this time, please feel free to leave any questions you may have in the YouTube chat, and the authors will get to those either during the in conversation or towards the end of the in conversation. Okay, if that all sounds great, Sophie and Chandra, I pass it off to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So yeah, Sophie, we heard a little bit about yourself, but we are here, like Ariana said, to celebrate the release of Maybe This Once, your
Yeah.
latest book. So yeah, if you want to just sort of give us a little summary, tell us what we can expect from the book.
I can tell you. I just have to say though about your book, whenever someone says the title and then I saw it, I'm like, all I can think of is Anna and Krista.
Yeah, the song. I know, yeah, Love is an
So
open book.
awesome.
So, but I do have four kids, so I feel like that, that song is like always on repeat in my
Yep. No, I
head.
love it. I'm like, wow, that's a good hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this once we are taking our final trip to Smile. It's a little town that I created, and the Get Lost Lodge is there. It features the Keller family, and this is Grayson's story. He's the oldest brother. He inherited the lodge in a divorce. It was his settlement. And Charlie is a newcomer who's kind of hiding out from some issues she's having in California. And they fall for each other, even though they promise not to.
Don't they always? I love it.
Yes.
I love when they make the promise that they're gonna break.
Yeah. 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 The best of
um,
intentions.
yes. And I gotta say, so I did not read the first ones in the series, and I gotta say you did a great job of like I was able to jump right into the story and
Right.
get caught up on everyone. And now I'm like, I have to go back now.
Oh, good.
and read
That's
it.
always the worry, right? It's like how much is too much because you're like, okay, I don't want to hear about these characters, but enough to entice, right? You never know. So thank you. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, especially with like a such a big cast of characters. But I was like, I
Mhm.
instantly like was able to pick up on who was who, and then I
Oh,
was like,
good.
I've got to know how they got together. So yeah, it was great.
Good. I'm glad.
It was awesome. So yeah, so you mentioned, yeah, this is a rock bottom love series, and so it's Smile. This particular book, I'm not sure about the rest, but it takes place like on that lodge, like you said, which is on an island. I love that.
Yeah,
So what sort of drew you to the setting? Because I heard in your bio you're a Canadian author, but this
I
is set in
am.
Michigan. So
Yeah. I love that you're from Michigan, so that's kind of funny. Sometimes people in Michigan, they're like, this actually sounds a little bit like it. I'm like, oh, good. Then I researched well. Um, yeah, I was talking with my daughter about this the other day because I'm a Canadian and she's a writer as well. And we were talking, she's like, well, do you ever like think of maybe like do the island or, we live in Vancouver, it's beautiful. But I always feel like unless you are like Carly, I'm gonna forget her name, Fortune, or any of the, Elsie Silver, I feel like it has to be set in the States. So that's the first thing, right? Is I just feel like it's more universal. I don't know why. It's not like Canada's not big or anything, but I'm always hesitant to put it somewhere like this. So I live in a place where camping is huge. I do not camp. I know you're asking me that later, but just spoiler alert.
me
Um,
either. So
yeah,
that's
but
okay.
I do love like I love walking up the river and I love being outside doing things with my family and stuff, depending on what the activity is. And I wanted something that kind of reflected that, but I didn't want it to be Canadian. So I looked around and I had done some books in other places. I love California and New York, but I needed something a little more um rural, like remote. And so I was kind of looking around with Ontario being right there. I was like, oh, my dad used to talk about going to Michigan and things
Mhm.
like that, right? Because it's actually not that far depending on which way you go. And so I started looking up lodges and stuff, and I just thought, you know what, this sounds perfect. And I loved the fact that it was at the very tip because then it was really realistic, kind of like with BC, to get to those little islands off of there. And it's
Mhm.
like these little clusters of them, right?
Yes.
So
So similar to
that was a
where,
really
because that's what
long,
I was wondering when I first heard. I was like, oh, maybe she's like a Toronto author,
yeah.
or something, and so
I was
that's why
born in
she's like,
Ontario,
okay,
so
okay, yeah, because like I went to just a few times when I've gone to Canada, like driven there, and so I was like, oh, maybe she like had taken vacations, but it's kind of cool to know you just sort of stumbled upon it that way.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you did do a great job of making it feel authentic. Like I feel
Oh,
like
good.
yeah, all the sort of small towns, they all have their own vibe, but I think you captured that really well. Like I feel like the you have some like very fiercely independent, like I want to live. I don't know if it's like Alaska, like I've never been there, but I feel like what you hear about Alaska for like it's like,
Yeah.
you get some of those people, and I feel like you kind of represented that with some of
Well, that's good. And it's
the
funny because when I looked up some of those places trying to make it realistic, I'm like, there is like really nothing there.
yeah,
Right? When I was
no.
talking about Gray going to a hotel, I'm like, I was thinking this like fancy five-star hotel. I'm like, there, that's not realistic. There's none there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, even like Traverse City, one time we went and we actually weren't able to stay in the hotel we planned on, and we're like, where else can we like?
yeah,
You
where
have to
else are we
drive
gonna
so
go?
far, and yeah, yeah. If
Yeah,
you're
so that was interesting, right? And you kind of course, it's the third book, so I'm locked in. I'm like, well, they got to find somewhere to stay.
yeah, but also I was gonna say, I mean, I read several like Canadian. I feel like you can totally set a book in Canada. Like I mean, not that you
I
have
think I'm
to,
just
but
no,
I
I think I'm just
sometimes.
nervous. I think I'd like to, but I think, because I'm in Canada, I'm like, but it's more fun to go, somewhere
Yes,
else. So
yeah.
yeah, but I probably should try for something.
Yeah, sometime, but I get it. I like sometimes I try to go kind of what I know, like at least if I visited there, because I'm always scared that someone's gonna write and be like, you got that totally wrong,
Yes,
to write
exactly.
it off.
So, and actually, Tourist Lane is something that's right from BC, and you can actually Google it because there's a famous fish and chip place in Victoria, and it's all rainbow houseboats. It's
Oh,
just awesome. It's the coolest place, and so there's like little shops down there and stuff, and you walk right onto the dock, and you can. I don't know how the people feel about it because people actually live there, but yeah, you can walk past their houseboats and stuff. It's really cool.
there's a whole plot there. I feel like you're a
Yeah,
cantankerous
yeah,
houseboat owner that
yes,
yeah. These tourists keep
yeah.
coming by.
Tours.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another thing is that it has a small town setting. So was that at all something that you drew from your real life, or is that again just something that you wanted to write about?
I always love small towns because there's that kind of double-edged sword of everyone knows each other so well, which means they can support you, and then everybody is in your business, which you really see in this final book because there are some things wrapped up. It's like it's none of your business, but we care about you, so it has to be our business. So we're going to take care of this. So I love that about small towns. And I actually live in a town that's like got over 100,000 people, but it feels so small town, which is a weird thing because of its size. But my husband and I are both teachers. My daughters both went through the school system here. So it's like we always know somebody, right?
Hmm.
And we've been teaching in this district for 25 years. So it feels so small town. So when we go out, like the chances are good that we're going to run into someone we know. And so I do have that kind of vibe, especially if we go to something like a market or go down to the, the little areas that are popular,
Hmm.
we're going to run into someone we know.
Yeah, so you've still got that vibe even in the
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's great. And to have those people around, like the people in your business. I love the meddling neighbors. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite tropes, or the
Yep.
meddling family members.
Yep.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
mean well.
But yeah, so now for this book, the heroine, Charlie, she is a therapist, and
Yeah.
obviously we don't want to do spoilers, but that
Yeah.
is sort of a major plot line for her.
It is.
So you said you're a teacher. What inspired you to write a character who has like that counseling background?
Um, so the idea for Charlie actually came from, I don't actually listen to Ozzy Osbourne, but I mean I probably did when I was in that phase in high school, but um I was fascinated by a story I read once. I love like People Magazine, Us Magazine, all of those things, and I read them growing up. And I was fascinated by a story I read once that when his family took on the reality show, one of their daughters was only 16 and they moved out
Mm,
because she was like, I love you guys. We're so close, but I do not want any part of this. And I just thought about that kind of, and it happens all the time. You have no control who you're born to. And her parents' lives were going in a completely different direction than she ever would have chosen for herself. So I wanted something that was quiet. So I kind of had to fit it in that, okay, what is something that she does or wants to do that needs her life to be quiet in a sense, right? And not that like she can't have a dynamic life, but just who she is and how she kind of sits back and observes. And so it felt like the counseling was a good piece for that. I'm also a big fan of going to counseling.
yeah,
Um,
I love
so
seeing
and
it
I
represented.
Right? And I think that the interesting thing for me is I'm always when you're writing it's like, okay, Gray has these qualities, so she has to have these qualities. And then it was also like okay, so she's got this amazing toolkit of how to resolve these things, but not for herself. Right? So it
Mhm.
was like that, what could she do? And it's such a she has so much stuff to deal with, which is so ironic given that her job is to help people deal with their stuff.
Yeah.
So it felt
But
like
like
it
now the
fit.
shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I felt like that dynamic played over really well. And I think it's kind of like, with all of us, it's like just because you're great at something and it's easy
Yeah.
to look at someone else's life and be like,
Yeah.
here's how you should fix it, but putting that into
Yeah.
practice yourself is
Yeah.
not
Well,
so
yeah, and
great.
that's just it. It's really hard when you're the one. When we went through COVID, I mean, my husband's a wonderful teacher. I do pretty good as a teacher. I have a great relationship with kids, and both of our kids are very strong. But after COVID, people would be like, I couldn't teach my kid. I'm really sorry. I'm no good at this. I'm like, listen, we're two trained teachers, and it's hard to teach our own kids, right? Like it's hard to step back when it's personal.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. So I feel like, and another part of it is she's thinking, making a career shift, the teaching aspect. But did you have to do research in order to make her come through as like, a strong therapist, to get the accuracy there, or did you feel like you had life experience that you could pull from?
I do feel like I have a lot of life experience, and I don't mean that in any way like I'm an expert or anything, but in the position that I am as a teacher, there's so much mental health. It's constant, and we have dealt with almost everything I can think of in terms of mental health and social, emotional, and behavioral, and all of those things. So I've got that training, and then I have severe anxiety. So I've got my own personal things of, what things have worked for me and what hasn't haven't. And I recently, in the last less than a year, got a new counselor who is really fantastic. And I was like, okay, it was kind of like there was nothing wrong with the other counselors, but it kind of highlighted what really worked for me. And then I've seen my daughters, because they both have different forms of anxiety, go through that. And so I feel like it's mental health is a huge thing in our household, and I think in our world. And so I think it's something that's constantly on my mind. And so I feel like I did have a level of experience to bring to the table, but I definitely like I have friends who are counselors. I work with counselors, and so I asked about the play therapy and things like that, even though I had experience as a parent with looking into those things a long time ago because my kids are grown now. But yeah, I feel like I definitely had a foundation, and then there were things that I could clarify through research.
Well, I that like I said earlier, I love seeing it represented. Like I just think that seeing mental health in romance books like addressed, and it will. I felt like it was really seamless, and it makes sense
Thank
now
you.
knowing that you like sort of have that experience. But it felt really authentic to her character, and in the thing, like I don't, I'm not in a position to say whether it was good or not because I don't have that professional experience. But I'm like, to
Yeah,
me, I thought it was just done really thoughtfully, and just like the way it didn't feel like it was thrown in there. It felt like it
I
was true
appreciate
to
that
her
very much. And
character.
that's always it's always a concern, right? Like when you represent something, you want to do it well, and there's pieces of it. Absolutely, I feel like I'm an expert on generalized anxiety disorder because I have it. But
Mhm.
there are also pieces of it is like I don't want to overstep. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right, and that's why it's important to like ask questions and stuff. And you want readers to feel that way when you're there. Yes, it's a made up world and everything else, but you don't want, unless you're, reading Finley Donovan, you don't want to be like, okay, as if that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you just hope
Well, like
nothing in that
that's
book
what I love
happens.
about romance is I feel like you can read it and obviously, yeah, it's fiction, but you're dealing with these real
Yeah.
world issues and
Yeah.
it really brings comfort. It can
Yes.
make, I mean, so many times I've read a book and it's like, oh, okay, it's not just me or,
No.
all
And
of
that's
those
just
things.
it, right? And it's so layered. And that's what makes romance so wonderful is that, like, oh, okay, so they're experiencing this, but there's still these moments that
Mhm.
get you through the next hard ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it felt like it was really layered and
Thank you.
just really nuanced and so good for her character. And that was true for Gray. I felt like as a hero, I hadn't seen the whole thing with his divorce and
Yeah.
everything, but I was able to just feel it really coming through on the page because again, that's like it's like a second chance romance for him in that he's going through this again
Yeah.
and feeling all of those feelings of love and not sure how to handle all this, and I just thought it was really beautifully written
Thank you. I
how you
appreciate that
portray
very,
it.
very much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But I felt like he was such a romantic, and he said it multiple times, like, I'm not a romantic. And I'm like, what is this man talking about?
I
Because
know.
he really spoils her, which I thought was so sweet. Because sometimes you have like the grumpy heroes that don't,
Yeah.
and that's fine too, but I love a hero who spoils
Yeah.
his woman. So
Yep.
I like, for me, it's sometimes like the hardest thing if I have books where like they have to have like an actual date, because I will do
Yep.
everything I can to get away with like no
Yep.
date.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't plan anything because I'm not a romantic, which might sound weird, like as a romance
Yeah.
novel,
No,
but it's
I
like
get
I'm
it.
not the flowers and candy
Yeah.
person. But I felt like you did an awesome job because they had these dates and they were like these very elaborate, amazing dates. So how did you come up with those ideas or your inspiration for those?
Well, for Gray, I think he doesn't want to be a romantic because that admits something, right? And so when he does things, I think because their whole family is very much always thinking about other people. How can Ollie be a part of this? How can these people be a part of it? So there's always plus they plan tours and stuff. They do things to entertain people for a living. So for him, it was more of a like this is what's available. And for me, I think I just use the situation that I'm in, like, and if it's familiar, great, that's wonderful. If I was doing something downtown, I've been downtown to Vancouver several times, and I can highlight these little things that you could do. But for that one, I had to kind of think they're in such a remote area, and it's so limited, and it's so different from where she comes from, where everything is right there for you. He had to do things that were quiet and understated, but really spoke loudly to her. And so it was like, okay, well, and that's where I'm like, well, where are they going to go? Are they going to go to Smile? Like, so when you're writing, you're thinking this, like, what are they going to do? And I'm like, okay, well, what if like off of Vancouver Island, there's all these other little islands. And so then it's like, okay, then I can create this little world where something else exists, right?
Yeah,
So it was just
opportunity.
kind of working with the geography and the location that I kind of roped myself into and trying to decide what I could do with that.
Yeah. Well, what you said about him, like that's what he does for a living, that really makes sense because, he's already in this sort of planning, like
Yeah.
optimizing everyone's
Yeah.
experience. And so he's sort
Yes.
of, yeah,
Yeah,
uniquely
and
situated to
he
give them.
doesn't want it to be, he doesn't want it to be like, oh, I'm committing to this because I have feelings for her. It's just, oh, I just, I want to show her a good time, and this is what
Yeah.
So
Anything to get out of admitting that.
yes,
But I feel like it also it showed that like even if he's going to sort of take a step back and do this, he is already in tune with her because he was finding things that really
yeah,
mattered for her. And
yeah,
it's not just something generic, oh, this is what I would do anyway,
yeah,
for anyone.
yeah,
Like even if
no,
he's telling himself that.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so I felt like the whole book it had like sort of, there's some books that they're full of angst or it's enemies to lovers, or and this book it wasn't that. It had like a very tender feel. Like I feel like,
I
people
loved
talk
when you
about
said that.
movie. Yeah, like soft,
Yeah,
sometimes people are like, I just need a soft road. I don't
yeah.
want the angst. And I love that. Like a book you can pick up, it's like a warm hug. But I feel like that was sort of essential for these characters. Like, how did you stumble upon, or did you create that idea with these characters in mind? How sort of did that come about?
Well, I love that you said that because it is truly it is softer. There's no big eruptions or big personalities in this one in terms of the two main characters, and I did create it on purpose. They needed it. They both needed a quiet kind of tender love because it's what she craved, because she didn't want something that is big and loud because she's not. And for him, I think the only way for him to learn to trust again and to be willing to give his heart, if it's this quiet, and not that they were really friends first, but they it didn't start as this big. I don't know that he would have trusted huge big roll over you feelings. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that kind of that caution they both have with their hearts and their lives kind of laid a really firm groundwork, and it just became sometimes the people that come into your life heal you in a way that you don't expect to ever find and maybe didn't even know you needed. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they gave to each other. She wasn't asking anything of him, and it made him want to give her more. So it was
Mhm.
just this kind of, mutual respect and similarities in how they felt.
That's how I feel like the question is always like, what makes these characters perfect for each other? And I feel like so often it's even in things like enemies to lovers, but so often it's these parallels in these
Yes.
characters. Both like you said, they're both healing, they both wanting that more quiet,
Yeah.
sort of gentle love story. And I love how how it can sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job of that.
Thank you.
Because yeah, the whole thing where someone is, I feel like it's hard, Charlie's going through something big and he's recently gone through, so it can be hard to sort of juggle that situation and then get the romance in there and
Yeah.
sort of fit it all in, but it related all so beautifully. So
Oh,
I think you did a
yay.
great job.
Yay. Good.
But yeah, so you talked a little bit about like the family dynamics, and this book was packed with them. Like that's what I love
Yes.
about getting into these small town series is like you get like the all the great characters. So you can tell us a little bit more about them in general, and I kind of want to know if you have a favorite or if there's a few that stood out to you.
Yeah. I love writing big families. I love reading about big families because, of course, with the big family means sequels, right? And I want to stay, when I read something I love, I want to stay in that world as long as possible. So I love all of these elements. And a long, long time ago, somebody told me that the secondary characters' jobs are to show you who the main characters are. And I truly feel like no one does that better in books and movies than kids and old people because there's no filter. And so I love including those dynamics because it forces them to, look at the bluntness of youth and the kind of wisdom of age, which also comes across as blunt, right? And so I love creating that. There, Bernie comes back. Bernie's in the first book, and that's kind of how Gray got to keep the lodge. So he has a soft spot for him. And then Ollie was in grade two, maybe grade one when in the first book, and so she's grown up a little bit, and it's that kind of it's one of those things. Ollie is probably one of my favorite characters to write because for all three of these siblings, there's Jillian and Beckett and Gray, they all kind of feel like they don't have the capacity to do a long-term sort of love, right? Like it didn't work out, they failed at this, it didn't work. But when you see how much they care for others and how much they love Ollie and that kind of commitment and those feelings, you're like, okay, you have the capacity for all of this. You're funneling it all into this and you're just waiting for the right person to come along to show you that it can be more.
Hmm.
So they're all really fun. I really love Jillian Levi. I loved writing their book. Um, Ollie's definitely my favorite. I love all the scenes with her because she's precocious, right? Like she's the only kid in this world of adults and she just wants to be an adult so bad. And she's just fun.
Yeah, I loved Ollie because with my kids, like they always want to be in the adult's business.
Yes.
Like she's
Yeah.
like
You
all
didn't
up
hear
in her
anything else
relationship.
I said, but you
Yeah.
heard that,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And yeah, like you said, she is very wise, but like I also feel like she's sort of the glue that holds everyone together. And she sort of she has there's so many opportunities with her that brought people into scenarios that they might not have otherwise
Yeah.
been in. So she was great at doing that. And I loved
And I,
like following along her story too.
yeah, well, I think kids do that. I know because I get super anxious when I walk into a room, but if there's kids there, I tend to gravitate towards, because they're easier, right? And I always tell the kids because they have to, like my students, that they have to come up and present. I'm like, this is really hard. It's really hard with someone your age. I can't, it's so hard for me to go talk to a room full of adults. But hanging out and being silly with the kids is easy, right? Because there is that. There's not, I don't know if it's a lack of awareness of all the things they should be worried about when you're doing something like that, but it just makes it easy. And so they all drop their guard around Ollie.
Yeah. Well, and see, so I got my degree in teaching
Okay.
English, but like I remember that in one of my classes, like grammar, which was terrible. I
Yeah.
did not do well. But we had to give a presentation,
Nobody does.
and later it was taught by a TA, and he pulled me aside. He was like, you did, it was terrible. It was like a train wreck. He's like, are you really sure that this is the career for you? And I was like, listen, I've done student teaching and it's
Yeah.
totally fine, but doing it to my peers
Right?
and
Yeah.
so it's like the idea of like if you have another teacher sitting in or it's like
Yeah.
that's different. But I'm like, I can get up in front of the kids and
Yeah.
teenagers, no problem. It's
It's
just like
so different, right?
yeah,
There's just something about it. And even I'm supposed to present this week at Love LitCon. I'm super nervous. I'll do it, but they asked me in my district to present something. I'm like, no, thank you. Right?
yeah.
I'll go present at a high school and talk about writing or a kindergarten class and talk about writing, but I do not want to talk to anyone who's close to my age.
Yeah, it's just it's a different
Yeah.
atmosphere. But and also too, I love that especially with romance when you see either, of the love interest like interact with kids, it sort of tells about the person's character. So
It
seeing when he
does.
sees Charlie interact with this person
Yes.
who matters so much to him,
Yeah.
I love that because it's like, okay, this is a good person. It's
Yeah.
either that or animals, right? Like if they're
Yeah, I was just
these
gonna say
animals,
that, right?
they're
They
kind.
know, they sense something. And right from the Charlie's got such a shield up, and that is the first thing that immediately drops it is that he's like talking to my niece. Like, and it just immediately it takes some of that, all the fear she had away. It's like, okay, he's laughing at what a 10-year-old girl said. Like, right? He's not that intimidating.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah. Which I think that touches on another thing is that sort of you have these characters a lot of times in a romance, they'll have their separate spots that they can kind of retreat to, but they're instantly like all up in each other's space. Was
Yeah.
that hard to sort of write with these characters that are hesitant to be open?
Yeah, it is. The forced proximity is such a wonderful thing, right? Like, I love it. It's like you are not getting away from this person. It's fantastic. But it is also hard for that, right? And especially in a place like that where she is completely fish out of water, it's not like she's going to go for a hike to get some alone time or take the boat out. So for Gray, it's a little bit different, even though his family's kind of always there. He does kind of have his own space, but Charlie doesn't. So it just becomes this thing of for her needing to say like I need some space. I need to figure this out. And she learns how to say that to like her mom and to, you know, but she also learns how to have people in her space to help her too, right?
Mhm.
which I
Yeah,
think is
because
something
I
changed.
think she that again it's how she grows because she was hoping to sort of get away from it all, but she doesn't
Yes.
really. She
No,
doesn't
she
want to get
dove
away
right
too far
into
from
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she
So
thought
that's
she was going
good.
for some solitude and just, she'd be able to focus on all these things that were cerebral and not emotional, and that's not what she got.
No, but she needs it, their whole
Yes.
the whole thing. But so yeah, so you talked about the characters you loved, right? Was there any that were hard for you, or any relationships in the side characters that were a little tricky?
I think it's a little bit one, it's a little bit hard to write. I think the female characters are a little bit hard to write, only in that I want to make sure, because I've done so many books, that they're not just like, oh, what book am I reading? Oh, this is the same as
Mhm.
10 Rules for Faking It. Like they're the same character. So all of the characters are hard in that sense because I want to make sure they stand out. And especially when they're a family like this, right? Because Grayson needed to be different from Beckett. It's easy enough to make him different from Jilly, but, you know, two brothers, similar age, both like outdoors. How do I differentiate who he is? So that piece is hard. Um, and I think that for this book in particular, it was hard not to include the parents. So there's little moments with his parents because they actually are a very close-knit family. So it was hard to have those little moments where, of course, your parents would be there, but we don't really know them as well as we know, like even some of the guests. So
Mhm.
those pieces were kind of hard to weave in a natural way that
Yeah.
made the relationship evident without, okay, they're away right now because I don't want them on the page.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it came through really well though, and it's because she's sort of dealing with this. She's getting to know this other character, right? So she has that going on, and then I feel like because you see so many elements of his family and it's okay, But I feel like for me, I totally understand. You have that where they're like, oh yes, the parents exist, they're
Yeah,
here,
but don't worry, they're
they're
fine,
good.
right?
But something that I've come to realize, like sometimes, and I feel like it goes in waves. Like sometimes I'm like, you know what? I feel like there's so much parents, like would a 35-year-old person really be interacting with their parents this much
Yes.
all the time? So I feel like it can go either way. If they're central to
Yes.
the story, it's totally important, but
Yep.
it's okay. Like if I read a book and I just hear that they have parents and
Yep.
it's fine.
Yep.
It
Call my
doesn't always
mom,
have to
everything's
be.
fine,
Yeah.
like, and sometimes it works with the story, like with Presley's story. She actually, like, she craved that interaction from her parents and didn't get it, which
Hmm.
was really fundamental to the story because that's what she found with the Keller family, right? Was that place. Whereas with Charlie, she's really close to her mom, like
Yeah.
super close to her mom. And it just shows that relationships go through these different dynamics where it's like, I'm close to you, but maybe I'm too close and need a step back.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing is I feel like you showed all of these. There's cousins and nieces, and there's all these different family dynamics. Like it sounds like that's something that you always bring to your books.
I do.
But like I feel like you showed really range. Like you showed the healthy aspects and the unhealthy. Does that sort of come easy? Is that easy for you to develop these characters, or is it something you really have to delve into?
I think it's a little mixture. So I do have my best friend has a sister and a brother, and we've been best friends. I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in June, and we've been best friends since, well, we've been friends since we were 13. And really, really like best friends for so long. And I grew up watching her family. I have an older brother, and I'm not close to him really. He's 8 years older than me, which is quite a
Mhm.
gap. And I always thought it would be cool to have like all these people. I always think of family events like Christmases and things like that, where it's like it's so busy, and the introverted part of me is like, no, I don't want all these people in my house, but I wouldn't mind having a little bit of that, which is what you see with the Kellers. But my best friend's family is just they're just really cool and lovely, and it's kind of like, and it's easy to it's kind of, I can model these guys after that because even with the parents, her parents head off to the island all the time or they go here. It doesn't make them any less involved, and I think that's
Mhm.
a dynamic that's important too. Just because someone's in your life every single day doesn't mean it's always healthy and good. And so
Mhm.
with her family, it's like this perfect example of, yeah, they all get together at Christmas and they all do these things, and it's really nice. So I do have that. And
Mhm.
also I read a lot. I love Melissa Foster. I don't know if you um
I have read one of hers,
oh,
yeah.
I love her so much. And I think it's because it's that. it's probably something I crave. It's that intense loyalty with huge families, right? It's like if you're struggling and I pull you into my fold, that's it. You're part of us. And I kind of love that found family piece. And of course, she's got one book here and it introduces 10 characters. It's like, oh, everybody gets a book. So
Yeah.
you get to stay immersed in that world. So I'm influenced by that as well.
Yeah, found family. I feel like it's in all of my books. I whether I plan it or not. I don't think I
Yeah.
ever plan it.
Yeah.
It
No, I
always does.
know, right?
But it's one of those tropes that I feel like, well, it's not really a trope. It's just sort of how life is, I feel like, but
It
also
is.
the family. I feel like, you have your family and you can also choose your actual
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
think
I
that's
love seeing
natural.
those.
I think we all do that, right? At different stages of our lives. Like we love watching Friends. We watch it all the time. And my girls are like, "Oh, I want that." I'm like, "You will. You'll fall into those relationships where it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm seeing this person all the time." And then you have this little transition where maybe you have kids and it's like, okay, now I'm friends with all of these moms or whatever, right? And so you find these little pockets of found family and it really kind of shapes that stage of your life.
Yes, yeah, and then we all have like the friends or family members that you only see them once every year, once every two
Yeah.
years, and then it's still like when you were
Yeah.
like, I have some friends, like you get together and you're like, oh my gosh, I have not laughed like this for
Yes.
like a year,
Yes.
it's
It's
just like,
like no time has passed,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which is honestly wonderful.
no, and I think that really enhances it. Like, I mean, I love, like I said, I read all kinds of romance, but the ones where you have like everyone around them supporting it up in their business
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, so we talked like a little bit about tropes. I feel like tropes now, it's like the thing. Everyone is talking tropes. They've always been there. But
Yeah.
now
I
it's like,
know.
in the marketing, this and that. So I'm curious, like for you, is it like, you're like, do I want to write, a book centered on these tropes, or do they just sort of come up organically and you identify them as you're writing or after you've written?
So about, oh gosh, it's been a while now, but a long time ago, I don't know if you know who Jennifer Probst is, but she's a big author and she's a big name. And she was one of the first people to follow me on Twitter. So I was like instantly like, oh, you're wonderful. And she's so supportive and great with writers. Just a great resource and a great person. And so I got to hang out with her at a conference probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And I remember listening, and of course, everybody's just sitting around her listening because she's Jennifer Probst and she like signed a real $1 million deal and all of these things. So we're just listening. She's like, yeah, and I've got these themes and I pull in these themes and then I work with this. And I'm like, mine is all by accident. And I don't know if that's okay.
But then,
Like,
yeah, it is.
I go back through and I actually go back through. I'm like, can someone tell? I go on Goodreads and I'll be like, where did people put my book? Okay, it's got found family, it's got brother's best friend, it's got right. And I look for that. With my romance, I just write. And then I hope, like, I always say, even like in my real life, when things fall into place, I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks like I meant that. And, I'm just telling this story, and maybe those tropes are so much a part of life that, they're identifiable in it. But no, I never start with, unless I do love a brother's best friend, that kind of thing. And you're like, okay, like this is what I'm aiming for, friends to lovers, but not all the tropes that we
Not
see.
like the micro, like the overarching
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
not
Like
the micro. Yeah.
I might have this. Oh, it's gonna, be a brother's best friend or whatever. But no, I just hope that it comes through genuinely and it kind of weaves its way in. And I hope at this point, if I sat down and was like, okay, I need to hit these tropes and I need to hit these themes, I could, but I honestly feel like that might make it harder for me.
Yeah, well, and I think you were saying like that's her method, and that's what I think
Yeah.
everyone's method is. Like, I mean, I feel like the hard thing is we all kind of have to be like some sort of a planner once you get into your career because you
Yes.
have to deliver a
Yes.
synopsis, right? Like, which is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
terrible for
You
me,
have to know where it's going. Yeah.
because I would prefer not. Like, I'll write an
Same.
outline, but a synopsis is asking. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
asking a lot, but I'll
Like
do it.
read the book.
Right.
You'll get
But
it.
like, yeah, I think it's totally fine to have your own organic process because I mean, you can't like force your way
No.
into
But
the
it was just it was so smart the way that she did it. And I'm like, I love those themes. They matter to me, but I can't stick them in there. I just have to hope through the writing and what matters, it kind of just comes on its own. And so far, I think I've just found family is such a huge thing. And kind of this idea, I know that my books have a theme of kind of accepting yourself after being really hard on yourself for all of them. And so I mean, I guess I could go into the next one and be like, I'm definitely going to have these
There you go. Yeah.
based
But
on
I've done
previous
that too
books.
with the reviewer. Like someone tagged me in a review of one of my books, and they're like, "Oh, it's Grumpy Sunshine." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Oh, did
so
I?
I've been using that in my marketing now. I'm like, "Thank
Yes,
you so much,"
exactly,
because I had
right?
no idea. And now I'm like, it's so obvious now that you say it.
Yes.
Because
I love that.
what she said actually is something along the lines of like, I love when the grumpy person or the sunshine person calls the grumpy person sunshine. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes,
It's like an
yes.
epiphany. But
It's
I think
perfect.
yeah. But so when I've grown up reading romance, like I read a variety of genres, but I always loved romance.
Yeah.
But I still remember when I originally joined like social media as a writer, I was writing motherhood humor, like nonfiction.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so someone I'd always wanted to write, my romance novel, but I was not doing it at the point. But someone asked in fantasy, they were talking about tropes, and I had to like Google like
Yeah.
what is a trope.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
I
my
have
God.
been there. I had to, when I first started, I had to Google, someone kept asking me about my CPs. I'm like, what are we talking about?
All these
I had no
acronyms,
idea. I meant critique partner. I was like,
yes.
oh, okay.
Like, is
Right?
that a resume? What is
Yeah. I'm like, what are we doing here? I don't have one of those.
yeah. Yeah, but so to this day, like I feel like with my debut, because I still didn't have like that touch point of like all of these tropes, I'm still like, what
I know.
tropes are in like someone's like, insta love, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like
Well,
I
this is
still
where
feel like
Bookstagram has come in so handy because people do these amazing graphics, and I go, I'm like, oh yeah, that trope is on there, and then I just
yeah.
share it. I'm like, look at all this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's funny how I feel like it's very much, and I feel like it's a pattern. It might shift, but like I said, they've always been there, but it's like the
Yeah.
conversation around them
Yes.
is sort of
Yeah.
different,
And
highlighting.
highlighting them because at certain points, some are po more popular than others, right?
Yes, definitely. I feel like some get a stigma, and it's like people always
Yeah.
say, what's your favorite? And I'm like, well, listen, I could like love triangles are sometimes tough for me, but I've read some amazing love triangle books. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
can't say that you just
Yeah.
don't make a trope, because it just
Yeah.
depends on how it's
Yeah.
handled. Yeah. So you talked a little bit like it's more on the pantser side of things. Like, do you want to talk us through your writing process?
I am so I write cozy mysteries as well under my name is Jody Holford, and Sophie Sullivan is a pen name because when I started with St. Martin's they kind of wanted to debut me as someone fresh and new. And so um with my romance I just start. I come up with an idea. Like, so what if this woman who doesn't want to be in the spotlight runs away and ends up at this lodge where she couldn't imagine herself living, right? And so I just start from there and I go until I get stuck, and then I reread as I go, and then I try to figure out what it is they want from this point where I'm trying to go, and then I kind of go like that. I do like the idea of I try to think of and all of this comes from like hearing advice and taking little bits and pieces from everywhere, but I like when you read the Netflix summary of what this episode is about for whatever show you're watching. I like that. What's the point of this chapter? What is this
Mhm.
chapter about? So I kind of try, once I get stuck, first I just write as long as I can, and then I realize, okay, I need to weave my way around and figure out why none of that's working. With the cozy mysteries, I have to plan them because otherwise it'll just trip me up. You have to have a certain amount of, red herrings, and I have to make sure that some people seem suspicious, but they're not. So there's a serious amount of planning that goes into that. And I do find there's little bits of that planning that have kind of overlapped into the romance, but not in terms a cozy mystery. I will write that whole like synopsis first, and I tried with romance thinking, okay, now I'm a planner. I'm a plotter. This is how I work. And I was like, no, this isn't working. I can't. I get a picture in my head of a scene, and then I just start.
That's so interesting. Like, I feel like, yeah, I'm surprised that it doesn't like translate that way that
It just,
thinking
yeah,
like,
and it's a very clear line with like the romance piece, and I don't know because I think because I know I have to hit certain character, like I have to make certain people suspicious, and I have to make something that is nothing look like it's something. So I have to think about those things ahead so that they're kind of in my mind when I move around.
I feel like I wonder if it's I mean, I haven't read your cozies, which now I have to because I
Oh,
adore cozies. Like
oh
I've
yeah,
always
they're
kind of
so fun,
thought it would
right?
be so fun to write one.
Yes,
But
they
I wonder
are
like if
very
sort
fun.
of like if those are a little more plot driven versus the romance being character driven.
Yeah,
Of course, you have it for both, but I'm
yeah,
also character driven, like for
yeah,
romance. So it's like, and some people just don't like it. I get like it's
yeah.
not, but I'm like, that's how I write. Like the
That's
character
how
is
I
the
write.
story. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. And I think that's
Yeah.
that's what's pulling us into everything, right? Like even in real life when you make friends and stuff, it's because there's something about that person that connects you. And that's the moment I'm picturing in my head is, her at the lodge and this image he sees of her and it not being what is real, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I just go and hope that I have lots to about 90,000 words in me.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. But I love that too. Like you said, like the first image that you have. That's like
Yeah.
I do that too. I like to write opening and closing images is sort of how I start
Oh,
with mine
I
and
love
then
that.
kind
Yep.
of, but I don't know how necessarily I get to that last one,
It's
but I
the
have
middle. The middle sucks.
yeah.
The middle's really hard.
It's always the worst. I get in there and I'm like, well, I
Yes.
have this beat like 3 times.
Yeah.
Gotta
I
like I
used
can't do
I
the same beat
usually
over and
quit
over.
writing in the middle of every book. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done with
Yeah.
this.
You're
I
like,
don't
okay, I'm done. This
yeah, I
doesn't
don't
work.
do
It's
this.
terrible.
This is
It's the
not my
worst
hobby
thing.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's a question in the chat that we can get to real quick. It says, what's the most surprising thing you learned while writing your first book?
How hard all of this is. I mean, I released my first book in 2013. It was co-authored, and at that time, I'm still happily married. I have children. My life is good. I'm settled. And you don't think at that age when, I don't live a life that is, I'm not an actress or a model or anything where people are looking at you. So you don't think about that, all the lack of confidence that is sitting there, right? Because of course you're brave enough to publish a book, which takes a lot of work, and then that the feelings other people have about that, right? And it's, even when you're getting agent responses or editor responses, like it's not personal, it's business. It's like, this is
Yeah.
all my words. This is hours of my life and a story I felt so compelled to tell that I took time from my family and things like that. So I think I had no awareness with my first book
Mm.
that one, that world existed where it's like I could feel judged in a good way or bad way. Like I never knew how good it would feel to have someone enjoy my book besides my mom and my best friend, right? And but I also never knew how it would feel to have strangers dislike it. And it's something that's gone on with every book because of course one, you hope that every book is better, so there's that pressure, but also your circle becomes bigger and it's like, oh, there's this and this, there's so many authors and they're all so good at what they're doing. And when people say something good about my book, I'm so appreciative because I'm like, there are literally thousands of books you could have
Mm.
chosen today, and you chose mine and you liked it, and I appreciate that. But I had no clue about the scope of that when I was putting, it was just like, yay, I published a book, cool.
Right. I think you kind of need that because otherwise maybe no one would do it, right? If they
Right?
didn't
Yes. I'm
realize
like,
what
oh
came
my
after.
goodness, why do we keep doing this? It's hard.
Yes, yes, totally. Okay, oh, we got another question that says, what do you think makes a
Well,
great love story in a novel?
that's a great question. I think a great love story is when someone sees all of a person, even the parts they don't necessarily want to show, and loves them for who they are. If something about that person, and I'm going to use anxiety as an example, but maybe you've got this easygoing person, this anxious person, and you're like, nobody's going to love me because I'm so anxious. And then it's like, this guy, he's easygoing, but he's also so disorganized. And this person's like, well, you could do this. So that little piece of their personality that they think is the deterrent becomes the thing that makes the other person's life better.
Oh
And
yes,
I
yeah,
hope
that's
that I don't know if I said that properly, but I hope that piece that was missing for them,
yeah,
they
like
find
with
each
the
other and it
perfect fit.
becomes right, whatever that is for
Yeah.
them.
No, I think that's something like, and I feel like it can come in different ways. Like in one of my books is the second chance romance. But sort of the heroine, her issue is that she thinks that love has to look a certain way. and she like it's this journey of like, no, love doesn't have to look this way. She finds someone who is able to go on like this sort of different journey, and I think she just always thought everyone is going to expect this from me,
Yeah.
and finding someone who does not expect this. So it's like, no, if it's real love, it's going to work. It's going to
And that
mean that
makes
someone
me
will
think of
want
when
you
you
to.
said like that's the great thing about romances, right? Because they are so true to life. We were my daughters are so hard on themselves, and I'm like, who's giving you these expectations? Like, what?
Mhm.
Why do you think you have to do this? And we put those things on ourselves. And so when we see a character in a romance do it, it's like, why is she being so hard on herself? And you're like,
Yes.
oh, hold on, right? So
Yeah.
it's that connection that makes it such a wonderful genre to kind of see yourself and to feel hopeful.
Yeah, and I think so many times you're so hard on them, and you're like, listen, when's the
Yeah,
last time in your life you had this
right?
conversation? It's so
Yes.
easy, but I think that does help because you're like, okay, wow, they were able to do this, and sometimes it can actually translate into your life. Like, okay, this is a leap
Yep,
I can take, or
yep, yep,
whatever's going on. So yeah, because in the fictional world it's all easy, but if there's consequences,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's different. So yeah, we have another question of, is there a character in any of your novels that you feel the most connected to?
I feel like, I mean, probably realistically, any of us that write, there's little threads of us in all of them, right? Because what we worry about expressing, we can put down on the page and pass it off as somebody else. But I would probably say the most closely connected would be Everly from 10 Rules for Faking It. Just that idea that overwhelming sense that everybody is thinking something negative about you, and that realization that wait, maybe they're not. And so like her journey and her anxiety and her connections with the people close to her, I think that's probably my most me
I
character.
feel like that's a question I always like. It's easy to say this is what could go wrong, but you have to ask what if this goes right?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what positive people do. It's weird.
I know. I'm like, what?
Like, and my
It's
husband,
really interesting.
he's like, what could go wrong? And I'm like, do you want a list? Do you want me to text it to you? Do you
Bullet
want
point.
an email? Do you want, like, how
Yeah.
do you want this? Because I got a lot of stuff here.
Yes, no, I'm the same way, so I get
Yeah.
it. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we'll wait and see if there's any other questions. We'll get to them. But I'm just curious before we wrap it up, if you have any great books you've been reading lately from anyone else.
So I've read a few really great ones. I'm gonna say this again because you read a book and it's like, okay, this is all I ever talk about. But I read Falling Like Leaves, by Misty Wilson. It's a young adult, and it was just what I needed at the moment. It was so happy and sweet and just lovely. It was it was like that feeling that you say, it's like that warm hug. I was like, I just want to fall into this world. So I read that, and I just read what are they called? I have them here somewhere, I think. Witches The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, I think.
Oh, that yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah,
You
I haven't read it.
I'm gonna say I don't want to say her name wrong, but I read those and I just absolutely loved them. They were so good. Um, they were so fun. I really want to write something with a little bit of magical
Oh
realism in
yeah.
it. So that was just both of her books were so fantastic. What else? I'm just about to read Alexa Martin's How to
Oh, the
Sell a Love.
cowboy.
No, no. Oh my gosh, I would love to read that one. That cover is fantastic. How to Sell a Love Story, I think it is called. I'm terrible. It's like I've never read a book in my life. I can't remember any of the
No,
names
that's how I have to write them down
every time.
literally
I know.
before any event. I like write them down
Yeah,
with the author because then I'll
yeah,
forget the author,
yeah.
So
Yes.
I get it. Yeah.
So that one's next for me after what am I reading right now? Oh, I'm reading Impractical Magic.
Oh,
Which is again, I'm trying to immerse myself a little bit in this magical realism world. And then not too long ago I finished the fifth Finlay Donovan, which is just fun, right? It's
I've only
just
read the first. I need to catch up on.
pace for books, right? With something always happening. There's none of that just like lean into the lazy kind of we're falling in love thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
no.
so it just like I'm in awe of it, but it's really high paced and fun. So
Yeah. Speaking of like the cozy mystery, I read The Ex-Girlfriend Murder Club by Gloria Chow.
I
I'm not
wanted
sure.
to read that. I saw it.
So it was really that was like a really fun one, but also yeah, it was a little intense. Like it was one of those
Yeah,
ones where like, no,
right?
don't do it.
Yeah.
But
Like
it was great.
I need to
Yes.
calm down.
Yes, but it was really fun. It was like a like I flew through it because it just had me on the edge of my seat. But
Do
like
you feel
great
like now,
characters.
do you feel like as a reader who's transitioned to writing that you can't read a book just like a reader anymore? Because I'm always like, oh man, this would be too intense to write, or oh, why didn't I write that? Or if I did that, my editor would be mad. Like,
I do feel like when I'm at the like the final like the going through like the final draft, then I cannot read contemporary romance. Like if I'm reading romance, it has to be historical. Like I
yeah,
can't it has to be
yeah,
something very
yeah,
different. Yeah. So
yeah,
I get to that point where I'm like, nope, I can't. And then
yeah.
it takes me a
No, it's
while to get
hard.
back into it. But yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So real quick, someone else says, has writing romance changed your perspective on the romance genre or your reading habits? So this is kind of similar.
Well, I mean, I think I've always been a fan of the romance genre. So I think that reading different romances and kind of broadening my scope, magical realism, different authors, getting to know so many different authors, it always amazes me that I'm like, oh, I'm so well read. I read so, especially in the romance genre. And then I'm like, how do I not know this person or this person? So
Hmm.
it's changed in that I think I have a more awareness. Being a writer has given me more awareness as a reader, and I have all these books I want to read. Um, I think I think it just gives me an appreciation because even the books that it's like, okay, for Melissa Foster, for example, I could never write a book like she does. Yes, I can write a romance, but I can't weave the way she does. And so it's kind of this magical thing where we all have this way of telling a story and it always comes out different for, we could take you and I could take two of the same similar characters and put their traits on a list and be like, okay, yours will have this one, mine will have this one, and the stories will be different. And so I think just being a writer has given me more appreciation as a reader
Okay.
and
Yeah.
more excitement for, it's like I know how hard that was to put that together. And oh my
Yes.
gosh, how with all these books that we read, did you do something so magical that it sounds like something I've never heard before?
Yeah. AI could never. It's like
Yeah,
so
right?
even.
No,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
no.
That's what I loved. Exactly what you said. Like it's just it's our own take on it. Like I think that we all as storytellers come into it because we want this connection. We want to tell our story. We want to like even if it's not, of course in fiction it's not our story, even if it is,
Yes.
own
Yeah.
voices, but it's a story that we want to tell, that we want to be out in the world. It's our perspective. And I feel like it's sort of like we can say all the time like, oh, I'm not writing for the, it's not about how the person takes it, but I'm like, for me at least, and for a lot of us, I think that
Yeah.
are especially like commercial fiction, it is like I want it to reach someone. I want someone to pick it
Yes.
up and
Yeah.
to feel something, to
Yeah.
feel, for me it's like joy. I really want
Yeah.
but so like it's a way of sort of speaking out into the world, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that what you said
Yeah.
about how we all have our own, way
And
that
I
we.
agree. There's nothing more rewarding as a writer than having someone be like, I love this about this character because it made me feel like this. I'm like, okay, that's all I wanted. I want someone else to feel the way I feel when I read my favorite
Mhm.
authors.
Yes, yes. Okay, and so I see there's one last question. It
Right.
says, how do you balance taking, oh, this is a good one, taking time to write with your day job? And any tips for making time to write while balancing other aspects of life?
This is like a super popular question because I have a lot of books and I write a lot. I My family is supportive. My husband does the cooking and the clean, well, not all the cleaning, but he does a lot of the cooking. He does the laundry, he does the shopping. And so there's things like that that help balance it. My kids are a little bit older, but it's like any other hobby. I think that's what it started out as for me. I wanted to write these stories, and it was like, okay, not that I'm suggesting like you forego your physical health, but it's like I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to sit down and write at the table. Um, and I also found ways. I listened to some great speakers about the we do it naturally anyway, but when you're planning the story in your head or you go for a walk with your family and those little moments where you zone out and it's like you're thinking about that scene and you're planning it in your head, it's like this pre-planning. You didn't mean to, but you actually were already working on that walk, and you go in to write it and it's like you pictured the whole thing, so now you just have to write it. So fitting it in that way. And I will actually like I've said to my family, okay, I'm going to bed to think about my stories, and I go to bed and I'm not quite that tired yet. And I will think about, okay, well, why would she do that? Oh, what if this scene happened? And I think about that because it immerses me in the story. I've also learned when I first started, I'd have like 5 stories on the go. That is really, really hard. So
Mhm.
I'm like one story, unless I'm editing, then of course I have to be in those two worlds. But I try to stay in the story that I'm writing, and I think about it all the time. I think about why Gray feels that way and why Charlie would feel that way and what if her mom just showed up or what if this, and I'm constantly, and so I feel really connected to the story. So I feel like when I do sit down to write, even if I've only got a half an hour, I, I've got a good sense of who they are.
You're ready and there.
Yeah.
Your
I
brain's
never
already
get up at 5
cooking.
a.m. Let me just say that. Ever. I could not do that. I honestly, we're going to San Diego, so I'll get out of bed before 5 a.m. for that. But that's about it. Someone is on fire or I have to catch a plane.
See, I love that. And it's like encouraging to people because, I think a lot of times you hear you got to write every day, you got to write at the same time, you got to get up early. And it's really just what works for you.
What
Basically,
works
you
for
just
you?
have to find time to write,
And
however,
it's
however
and
that
it's
works.
it's we're really hard on ourselves and we only get harder on ourselves when we've done something that we're proud of because it's like, okay, I haven't written in weeks. Honestly, I'm tired. I said to my husband the other day, I think I'm more tired than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay because I feel like I know enough now that when the story hits, I'll be okay. But maybe this is, your way, my body's way of saying, okay, you need a little break. Your brain needs a break.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll write 25 pages in a sitting and the next day you'll write 300 words. But if you feel good about it, if you did something, that's all you need. Doesn't have to
I
be
think,
every day.
yeah, just keeping going. That's a
Yeah,
big thing. I think like it's easy. I'm the person like it's all or nothing, like
yeah,
so I'm like, oh
yeah,
man, like if
yeah,
you're trying to work out, oh, I didn't work out today, I may
yeah,
as well not work out
yeah.
for a month.
Exactly.
It's like no,
Be
and I
all the
think
ice cream.
especially
I didn't work out.
right, yeah, and with writing being creative is you really can't force it. Like obviously there's discipline and like you have
Yes.
deadlines,
And
but at the same
contacts.
time
Yeah.
your body does sometimes
Yeah.
and your brain does sometimes need to just let it marinate or let it, get inspiration from other ways. So
Yeah.
yeah, the idea that you have to do everything the same way
Yeah.
that you did it or that you've been
Yeah.
doing it, I think
Yeah.
it can be this fluid thing.
Yeah.
I'm the same with having the kids. I don't have another job right now, but
Right.
like yeah, it's like you
But you
just
have
fit
four
it in.
kids. And
Yeah,
it's hard to work that in, right? Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you just, I feel like if something matters to you, you make the time for it. And it might cut into other little things. Like I don't bake as much anymore, but that's okay
Mhm.
because I do this instead. And right now I'm not writing, but I baked muffins. So
Yes,
right,
exactly,
you gotta
exactly.
you
Yeah, I do
ebb
a
and
lot of
flow.
baking when I'm procrastinating,
Yeah. Yeah. And my
procrastinating.
house is clean. When I'm
Yeah,
on
I like
deadline,
today,
my
I was
house is
like,
clean.
oh man, I
Yeah.
have found all the excuses not to write
Yeah.
today, even though I really
Yeah.
want to write. We all have these
Yes.
moments. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I think those are great tips on how to sort of fit it in. And you're right. Like if it's a priority, it's gonna happen. But
Yeah.
also don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen.
No,
That
if
they're
it
like, we're
doesn't.
humans.
And connect with people. That's another thing is I think we're scared to. I mean, even you were so kind to do this with me, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm taking your time. I feel we all feel that way. I love seeing super popular authors and they're like, okay, the worst part of publishing ever. I'm about to ask authors for their blurb. I'm like,
Oh
who
yes.
blurb you? Like, do you actually even have to ask? Ask because everybody feels the same way and you want somebody to take a look at something like just reach out because it's such a supportive community and none of us get anywhere without the other, right? Without
Totally.
all of us pitching in.
I love that. Okay, well, I think since we're at the top of the hour again, I'm not sure. Yeah,
I went fast.
she's back.
Hi, I know I just popped up on the
Here you
screen.
are. Here she is.
Yes, we are unfortunately at time, but thank you so, so, so much to everyone who
Wonderful.
joined us this evening. And thank you again to Sophie and Chandra. It was
Thank
so
you.
lovely listening in on your conversation, and it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you
So,
so
everyone,
much.
Thank you. It was so
Okay.
great to chat with you, Sophie,
Yes,
and
it
good
was
luck.
so good. And I'm looking forward to yours is April, right?
Yeah, my next one is
Yes.
April, my first special edition.
Yeah,
So
I saw that. It's very nice.
thank you.
All
fun,
right.
and
Well,
everyone, please, please, please go out and purchase maybe this one's and Chandra's newest release, Love is an Open Book. Links to purchase both of those are in the YouTube chat. So,
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
thank
you
you,
so much,
everyone.
guys. Bye.
Bye.